Hello everyone, today I'm going to be teaching you how to master Spain on F124, of course following a quite normal video format now by doing a slow lap explaining everything and then doing a full speed lap after to show you in a representation of what it's like to be driving at full speed. So of course starting the lap, using up all the road possible flat out for the final corner on a qualifying lap, opening DRS and keep the car to the left hand side of the track. You do that simply because the first turn is turning right, so keeping your car to the left is more optimal. In the braking zone, try to be using as much of this red part of the road as possible, quite simply as it opens up the track more and more. So just before you see this sort of strip with the brake in the red paint on the tarmac, this is where you're going to be braking about 60-70 meters before the corner, as turn 1 is quite high speed and high grip on this year's iteration of the Formula 1 game. Going down into 4th gear, and really you have two choices here. You can either be running two wheels on this inside red and white part of the curb, or if you really want to attack for the maximum lap time, you try to get your wheels all the way on the inside of the curbstone here, and if you get it absolutely perfect in between the yellow sausage curb and the red part of the curbing before the brass, you can see the car is able to use up more road, carry more speed, but of course the risk is if you get it slightly wrong, you are going to be on the sausage curb and that will be upsetting the balance of the car. Turn 2 is easily flat out in a qualifying lap. You're just trying to minimize the distance here, so the more curb you can use without losing the rear end, the better. So if you are losing the rear end and having rear instability, just avoid the curb, to be honest, and that should be more than enough to go flat out through there. Turn 3 is easily flat out, and again is choosing the least distance possible throughout the corner, so the tighter you can keep the car on the exit, the least distance you'll travel and the faster that you'll go over your lap time. Ending sector 1, you're going to be braking as you get underneath the bridge here, or braking at the 50-meter board, using up all the road on the left hand side and then sort of turning in when you get to the end of this curbstone on the left hand tire. A lot of this is by feel on this corner, but that is a good reference to be turning in where the curbstone ends on the left hand side and then down into 4th gear, and you're sort of hugging the car on the inside and then getting back to the power as soon as possible, keeping the car to the middle of the road here and then letting it sweep out towards the exit to keep the least distance possible while keeping the most grip in the car. In a racing situation or in the rain, as the grip goes down and down and down, something that becomes more advantageous over the time is to be earlier on the power and using a longer distance around the outside of the corner, much like this sort of racing line that we're doing right here. Quite simply, as it allows you to build up more momentum and will just be carrying more speed because of that. Whereas in the dry, you don't need that extra distance to build up the momentum and you can save some meters on the lap time because of that. Coming into the braking zone, again, you have two choices here. If you're really feeling confident, you can brake on this outside curbstone and you'll be braking about 60 meters before the corner. If you are suffering with front or rear locking, it's good to avoid the outside curbstone in this situation. Going down into 3rd gear, you can see the track slightly falls away from you as you get to the apex, so it's quite easy to lock up a front left tyre as you get closer and closer to the apex here. Something that is ideal is running just on the white line here, and that will be the best racing line possible, but you also can put two wheels on the inside curbstone if you're slightly not perfect with your car placement. It's better to have two wheels on the inside curbstone than it is to be a tyre width wide of the apex in that situation. So to summarize, ideally you have the racing line just at the white line of the curbstone, but if you're going to do something that's suboptimal, it's better to be on the curb rather than wide from the curbstone. On the exit, use up all the road possible and then firing yourself down into what is turn 7, and so difficult here. Really try to focus on using the outside curbstone to open up the corner as much as possible, and then you're committing so much to this inside curbstone and bringing your right hand tires right up to the track limits here, and that is the ideal way to go through this corner. It's so difficult with the yellow sausage curb underneath the car, but you can save so much distance by doing that correctly that you can really gain a tenth, if not more, through this corner by doing it. So really attack the inside and, to be honest, commit and be confident with the car moving around underneath you, as it will reward you with good lap time. On the exit here, try to avoid putting tyres on this curbstone, as quite simply it's quite bumpy and will cause you to lose a lot of traction and a lot of momentum out of the exit. So ideally you just put 2 wheels on the red and white part of the curb, and that will give you the best exit possible up the hill and heading into the flat out corner. In qualifying, it's easily flat out, to be honest. It's something you don't really need to even think about your racing line, but in the race, as the grip comes away, you really want to focus to using as much road on the entry as possible. And then depending on your car, if you have quite a lot of understeer, take the inside curbstone here. If you have quite a lot of oversteer, try to avoid it, as that'll keep the car more balanced. And of course, you might be needing to lift in the race depending on your tyre degradation, and that will be impacting how much speed you can carry through here. On the exit, use up as much road as possible and opening DRS if it's available to you in the race, and of course in a qualifying situation, opening DRS as well. Pull the car to the right hand side of the track, and now you're getting into the final sector of the track, and it's so good, this sector is. On the entry, I should say, try to be using as much road as possible, but do not be using the green AstroTurf, as you actually will get grass on your tyres on the right hand side. As you can see right now here, that it's actually grass on my tyres. All you can be using is actually going up to the curbstone, and if you are on the curbstone, then you won't get the grass on the tyres. As you get underneath the bridge, this will be your braking point, and this is about 60 meters before the corner, and yeah, it's one of those corners that you can carry so much speed into, and really it is so much fun, to be honest, because there's a lot of lines available to you in this corner that you can throw lots of speed in. The only thing that's important is getting to the curbstone. So what you can do here is either exit the corner in the middle of the road, what I would advise in a racing situation, when your tyres are starting to degrade quite a lot and you're suffering with oversteer. Exit the corner in the middle of the road, as this will allow you better traction. In a qualifying lap, you're right out to the outside here, trying to push the front tyres and scrub them across the surface of the road, just trying to generate some friction to get you around the corner as fast as possible. So that's my advice. In a racing situation, when you have oversteer from tyre deg, then be a bit more to the middle of the road, as this will keep the car straighter on the exit. In a qualifying lap, use up all the road possible. Coming in to the final sequence of corners here, on the entry, use up all the road on the left hand side possible as you sweep into this right hander, and it is so difficult here. You want to be keeping the car to the inside of the curb, or inside to the white line, while not touching the curb, I should say, and then just floating your way around the exit of the corner. And this is where it gets really difficult in this sequence right here, where you're transitioning from turning to being back to full 100% power, because the car is normally understeering here from the front tire starting to overheat, and that can cause a big effect of snap oversteer, where you're understeering and suddenly get a big snap of oversteer. So you have to be really careful of that as you're using up all the road on the exit of the track here, right up to the white line. My advice is always to be slightly under the limit in the middle of the corner, so you can be on the limit on the exit. If you're completely on the limit in the middle of the corner, then you might suffer with some snap oversteer, or will hinder you on the exit massively. There's still a bump here, to be honest, that if you're driving over this curbstone for a prolonged amount of time, then you can end up with sort of a pothole in the track that can throw your car into the air, and you might end up on the outside gravel. So when it's possible, just avoid that, to be honest, and just drive off the curb, and that can minimize the risk of that happening. If you are later in the stint and you have a lot of tyre deg, you can take the inside curbing here to open up the track a little bit more, so you can keep this corner flat out. But as the tyre deg goes on, of course, this corner will become harder and harder and harder to take flat out without overstressing the tyres. So if you are later in the stint, just maybe take the inside curbstone there, so then you can sort of open up the track more and put less stress on the tyres because of it. In a qualifying lap, this is flat out on the final apex of the lap, but in a racing situation, it can be flat out, but you really have to manage the degradation of the front left tyre. So in a racing situation, as the stint goes on the hard tyre especially, really just focus on doing about a 20% throttle lift here, and that can mean that you can rotate the car nicely without overstressing the front left tyre, because if you really overstress that front left tyre on this track, then you're going to have so much understeer for the rest of the stint, and it will really hurt your lap time. On the exit of the corner, use up the DRS and of course the curbstone, and that is a full speed lap here in Spain. And now I'm going to do a full speed example for you. and how you could be using it as well. So of course, doing a quick flashback, so we're entering the straight at the maximum speed possible. Coming into the second corner is the flatten time trial. Final corner is the flatten time trial. You can see just we're able to pick our line even with so much grip. Heading down into turn 1, 8th gear has now been selected and going down. Of course, using the road on the left hand side, look for the gap in the red painting, hit the brake, get the car to the inside in 4th gear, short shift to 5th for traction if you would like it, then flat out through turn 3. Use the inside curbstone for rotation if you have the confidence to do so. Braking just underneath the bridge, down into 4th gear, now back on the power, squeeze the power. You can see really easy to get oversteer there, but open up the track nicely, down into 3rd gear, up on the white line, nicely done in 4th, 5th, 6th, and then keep it in 5th gear, down 2 gears, use up the curbstone on the inside, and try to avoid the yellow stones on the outside as well. Easily flat out using inside curving, because I have confidence to do so, and now into 7th gear. Use up the curve on the outside here, brake just underneath the bridge, and now get the car to the apex, back on the power, use up all the road, keep the car to the left hand side, up to 5th, down to 4th, and you can see really prioritizing the exit here, and back on the power. Easily flat out through here, and easily flat out to the final corner of the lap as well, as now we have completed the lap here at Spain. So now I'm going to jump in and show you the setup, and to be honest, the time trial setup here is actually really good anyway, and doesn't really need that much, if any, adjustments to make it work. So you have 50, 43, 100, 30, 100, all the way to the left, 41.1, 19.21, 21.62, and then in time trial originally it has 50% brake bias, but of course I'm going to put it up to like 55 just to keep the car a bit more stable. And then of course maximum tire pressure as well. So this is a really nice setup, to be honest, and something that I wouldn't really see needs changes. So yeah, hopefully this video has helped. Some people have asked for this in the comments, for this track guide on Spain specifically, so hopefully you enjoy. Hopefully this can be helpful to you as well, and of course if you have any videos that you'd like to see, I'd be more than happy to make them. I've got some videos made up on my whiteboard that I need to be making soon, and that's going to be a lot covering sort of minimum speed in the corner and how it can really be helping you, and of course how to just get better in that situation as well, and a little bit of tips and tricks from the game as well, so you can get as fast as possible. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Gracias, ciao ciao, bye bye.